This is Josiah from A Driver's Life. I just did an interview with Rob about the history behind our Rotary Datsun 510. Let's get straight into it.
So the 510, what year is it?
1969.
1969. And what year did you buy it?
1976.
And how much did you pay for it?
I think it was $1,800.
18.
Might have been less than that though.
I wish I could get a fucking 510 for 1800 now.
You know what? They sold brand new for 2,200.
Yeah.
Brand new. So they weren't an expensive car.
How much were you making at the time?
$13. Well, I was a mechanic, working as a mechanic. I started mechanic around the same time. Around $13 an hour was the best job I had at the time.
That's actually not bad. And how old were you when you bought it?
19.
19. Same age as me.
With the money I got from crashing it, I bought
That 510 right there.
number 96.
Number 96.
Because I am the best squirrel monkey you ever met. I still got it.
Yeah.
Because you never met a squirrel monkey like me. Okay, now back to 510. So yeah,
All
that's
right.
the current car there. So that car I bought it. It's funny, I should say I was inspired with 510s because my mom bought a brand new 1968 white Datsun 510 four-door. So it was one of the first cars that I was old enough to want a car, and I liked the car. I don't even know why I liked the car, but I liked the car. I actually stole the car. The first car I ever drove. My parents wouldn't let me drive anything because I had a reputation of being an absolute, maniac liability. I built a lot of things on my body, and I was a pretty tough kid to own, probably. The most fun, not the most fun as a parent, I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me drive anything. So I actually stole the 510, drove it, first time ever, right across the Portland Bridge. I remember just being like freaked out because I thought I'd keep between the lanes, and the lights were bothering me. And it's like, whoa, this is a trip. But I made it back home, and I loved the car, and I always wanted one. So when I got one, so back to that. So of course I immediately fixed up the engine. First thing I did is I put a twin carb manifold and a couple of carbs on it.
Okay.
First thing. So I put multiple carburetors on it to make it go whoa and howl like they do with multiple carbs. So that was the first fun thing, and then I put a big exhaust on it, of course, at the same time. Then I started camshafts and started building engines, and then I saw the racetrack spend like $2 or $3 grand a year in improvements in the car, and eventually it came into what it was, which I won the last one of the races when I was still racing. I won first place at Westwood in the car. I actually had the brakes working, and the engine was always good because I'm an engine building guy, and finally got the car to almost feel competitive, or won at Westwood. Then I took it to the States and I ran an SCCA race, which is real serious in Portland. They pulled me off the track and they weighed me, and they said, hey, why are you 2387? I went, what? And they pointed out my car was 400 pounds overweight, 380 pounds overweight. And I was like, that's bullshit. I'm gonna fix that. Yeah, I was planning to go back as a big, have some money and really beat these guys. I had no sponsorship. I did everything out of my pocket. My car had no stickers on it to the day. You can look at the pictures from before. There were no sponsorships. People would offer me spark plugs or oil. What I needed was tires. Tires are $1,000 for 4 tires. They last 3 hours. And so by the time I do a race weekend, I might be able to get a second race weekend out of a set of tires. I just didn't have the money. So I ran on shit tires for 9 years. In the 10th year, I bought brand new tires. Of course, I won. The first time I had new tires. Because I struggled. It's really good to muck. People who have struggled in the muck always rise to the top.
The underdog.
Because you gotta be in the muck in order to learn about life and about driving and about love and all of it. You gotta be in the muck. And if you can get out of the muck, you can do okay. But not all of us can get out of the muck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like, oh my, there's a thing in Westwood called the S's, and I always had to let off because the car just couldn't go through. It'd and I'd be off by the second S. When I had the new tires, Bam! Planted.
Wow.
Like, I was like, what the hell was that?
So that's the difference.
Oh my God. It was just like, before I was like, wah, wah, and then it was like, what the hell was that? Like, no slipping, no drifting, and it took 2 seconds to lap off. Like that. Those 3 tires.
Wow. So what kind of power were you running for that race?
I had an L18 with a Nissan Comp Triple S slow ported head. So best of the best, biggest valves we could fit in the head. 1/8 custom made stainless valves, lightened and cut back cut, tuliped, everything we could possibly do. I drove all my rocker arms out till there was no weight, drilled everything out. I had a Schneider cam which lifted so far I could just barely get it through the cam towers. Like, you have to hammer it through the cam towers because the lobe would rub on the frickin' cam tower. Wow. Okay, I had a custom grind by Schneider. Everybody else ran Iskis and all this shit. I ran a Schneider, and the car ripped like shit, you know. It was really, I made around 200 crankshaft horsepower at 8,400 RPM. And I ran the bag out of it. I never let the gas off. I had shifted gas on for the whole race. We had 45-minute races. I never let the gas off unless I was braking. So that means anytime I accelerated, I just go right up to red line and go, bam, just clutch in as fast as I could pull it and just pull it. And bam, the whole way, never let the fucking gas off. Bam, you gotta see it.
Wow.
So about 250 shifts or more during a race, never let the fucking gas off. Now that is Nissan quality. So that's why I was a firm believer and really loved it. Now, that being said, when I was on the straightaways, these nasty RX3s, which were
The Savannahs?
Yeah, they came. The Rotaries had come into my world, and just in pre-grid, they had no noise problems when I raced. We actually put megaphones on our cars. That means instead of silencing it, we put a broadcasting megaphone. So my 510 made a ton of noise. Now, the Rotaries. I don't know what's with Rotary guys, but they can never put a pipe out the back. They like to run them out the side. Before the axle, because they're mainly Gumbies. And they got live axles, too bad for them. But, that being said, the cars were obnoxious. They'd be beside me, and I couldn't even see I couldn't feel if my car was running. I couldn't hear if it was running. If I couldn't see my tack moving, I wouldn't know if I'd started it or not. That was when they were idling. When they'd go on the racetrack, and I'd race against them, the noise when they would pass you or I would pass them, you couldn't even feel your own car. Now that's why I now
put a rotary.
And they didn't have turbo rotaries going at that time. Nothing like that, baby. So they had like first gens, and they already made tons of power. They were making 350 horsepower, bridge peripheral ported. I don't know. They were pouring the snot out of them when I was racing against them. They went like hell. They handled like a piece of crap, and they stopped like crap. But they went like hell. So we now have gone to the bad guy side and put one of them in the 510, which now I don't mind doing that because my whole life I've always taken the best out of every manufacturer. I have no alliance to anyone. I'd even put an LS in if it was appropriate because I have no real alliance. I'm an alliance to engineering and technology. That's my alliance. So if I have a car that's very weak, like a 510 non-crossflow L series, a Mercedes motor they tried to copy, but non-crossflow. It doesn't work with today's fuel. It's disgusting, so I have no problems replacing it with something like a Rotary or anything.
Last part, can you run me through the mods we have now in the 510?
Well, it's basically all of them, even the ones I did before, or just the latest?
Because,
it's
like a quick rundown.
It's got tilting front brakes and tilting front struts in it. And it's got an aftermarket, I think, a quicker front bar, sway bar, and it's got all Hyman lower control arms, which I built myself and welded the reinforcements on them. And it's got a completely custom built by me rear suspension with studs on the lower control arms, so it's completely toe in, toe out adjustable. The rear suspension, all built by me custom, beautiful. And it's got a 160 dip, very small. with a 3.9 posi in it at this point. We've had it on the dyno, and we've ripped it around. So far, it's still alive. It's suspect, but it's small. But
Yeah.
the sand discs are very stout. That's why it's in there, because I believe. And now we put, of course, the rotary motor in it with a huge frickin' diesel truck turbo on it, and a 6-speed out of a R8 in it. So it's got about 400 and something crank horsepower, and it weighs around 1,800 pounds. Those numbers are pretty exciting for me to try racing it in this season coming up, believe me.
Stay tuned to watch us race this build and for more stories on all of our other projects.